trembles. The old fluorescent light hums violently above your head, flickering like a dying heartbeat.
Your survival instinct screams at you to hide. You rush into the very last stall, your pale, trembled.
You collapse onto the toilet, staring blankly at the dark, narrow gap under the wooden door.
It starts from the dark corridor outside. Scrape. Scrape.
The heavy wooden door of the restroom slowly leaks open with a deafening groan.
Drip. Drip. You hear the unmistakable sound of thick liquid hitting the...
Where are my legs? You pull your knees tightly to your chest.
The thick wooden door of the first stall is violently smashed open, splintering into pieces with terrifying. It is moving toward the second stall. You can see the thick, dark crimson trail expanding on the dirty white.
Where are my legs? The metal lock on your door feels incredibly, uselessly fragile.
You are in the fourth stall, the very last one. Your shaking hands grip the cold metal lock.
Suddenly, two decaying, pale hands violently slam onto the wet tiles right beneath the gap.
You push your back hard against the cold ceramic wall. Where are my legs? She asks for the third time. Her touch feels exactly like solid ice. You kick frantically, crying in pure,
You hear the terrifying metallic scrape of her massive, rusted iron scythe being...
To survive this trap, you must understand the absolute agony that birthed it. We must rewind the clock and travel back to a freezing, brutal winter night. Decades ago, Kashima Reiko was a completely normal, beautiful young woman. But one night,
the piercing, deafening whistle of a massive freight train shattered the silent night.
She tried to scream. She tried desperately to push herself off the metal rails, but her muscles were completely frozen.
The impact was catastrophic and immediate. The massive metal wheels sparked violently against the icy track. The train severed her body entirely in half. A massive spray of dark crimson permanently.
In any normal world, death would be instant. But the extreme, freezing temperature... Her lips turned completely blue as she whispered into the...
She took hours to die. Hours of pure, agonizing physical pain mixed with a deep... Her soul vehemently refused to pass peacefully. Her vengeful spirit immediately crossed the boundaries of Hokkaido. She now travels endlessly through the darkness. She targets those who are completely isolated. When you are alone, washing your hands, the mirrors slowly fog up.
You cannot outrun her! Her decaying, pale just inches from yours. You will smell the...
She will raise her heavy, rusted scythe high into the air, ready to bring it down on your waist.
If you cry, if you scream out loud, if you beg for your life, she will not hesitate for a second. The scythe will drop.
She will slice you entirely in half.
You must immediately force yourself to stop panicking. You have to override your human terror. When she asks, "Where are my legs?" you must reply with absolute firm confidence. They are at the Meishin Railway. This specific location forces her fragmented, rage-filled mind to recall the exact...
Hearing the true name of the railway paralyzes her completely. The rusted scythe lowers slightly.
Her face contorts in dark anger and deep confusion. She leans even closer.
Who told you that? This is the final trap. If you say you guessed, or if you say you read it online, you will die right here, tonight.
You must look at her and speak her true name. Say, "Kashima Reiko told me."
She drags herself rapidly backward, fleeing the restroom as if she is burning from the inside out.
You collapse onto the dirty floor, gasping for air. You survived. Kashima Reiko's curse is a mimetic hazard. Exactly like a virus, it spreads entirely through knowledge.
The folklore states that absolutely anyone who hears or reads the story of Kashima Reiko will be visited by her within exactly 1 month.
You sitting there right now, watching this video, have just downloaded her deadly curse into your own reality.
Sometime within the next 30 days, when you are entirely alone at night, when you are taking a shower, you will hear that sickening sound. A heavy weight dragging across the floor. Scrape!
If you forget the words, she will violently claim your legs to replace the
words. We walk through life feeling so incredibly secure in our bodies. We trust our legs to carry us away from danger. But some predators take away your ability to run. They force you to face the absolute horror head on. Because your 30 days have just begun, we wish you the best of luck. Sleep well tonight. Our journey through the dark archives does not stop there. The world of Japanese folklore is incredibly
wit. Imagine walking through a dense, ancient bamboo forest as the sun begins to set. The wind rustles the leaves, but underneath the natural sounds, you hear something else.
You stop walking. The clicking sound stops exactly when you do.
Hidden just out of sight, an unseen entity is tracking your every single movement.
You stand completely frozen on the narrow dirt path. The fading evening light
Click! Click!
The clicking sound suddenly stops. Out of the corner of your eye, you see a pale, unnaturally long. A tall, incredibly thin silhouette steps out onto the dirt path directly ahead of you.
The figure stands perfectly still in the dim.
As the moonlight breaks through the canopy, the entity's pale face comes into sharp view.
You hold your breath, your eyes widening in absolute paralyzing disbelief.
The entity slowly raises its incredibly long, pale hands, holding them directly in front of its smooth. Embedded in the exact center of each pale palm is a large, hyper-realistic, glowing yellow eye.
Pure, unadulterated terror takes over your entire nervous system. You turn around and sprint blindly into the thick, dark bamboo forest. You push violently through the dense, heavy bamboo stalks. Sharp branches scratch face and tear at your clothes in the pitch.
The entity runs with its arms outstretched. The glowing yellow eyes on its palms sweep back and forth like predatory searchlights.
Your lungs are burning in agony. You burst through the thick brush into a small, hidden... With nowhere else to go, you dive desperately into the narrow, claustrophobic crawl space under the... You lie completely flat.
Crunch, crunch. A pair of pale, dirty feet wearing torn traditional wooden...
The tall, faceless entity stands completely silently in the pale moonlight. It sweeps its arms slowly. The Tenome senses something. It slowly drops to its bony knees in the dirt, bringing its terrible seeing hands. The pale hand slowly reaches directly into the dark crawl space. The glowing yellow eye blinks, searching the shadow.
You shut your eyes completely tight, hot tears streaming down your terrified face.
Where did this horrific nightmare come from? Centuries ago, an innocent, blind old man was walking.
As he lay dying in the dirt, his empty eye sockets crying blood, he screamed.
The dark, spiritual forces of the forest answered his desperate, dying wish. His soul
The flashback ends violently. Under the shrine, the glowing yellow eye in the palm suddenly turns sharply. Your fingers brush against a heavy, jagged rock. You grip it tightly. You have exactly one chance to execute this destruction.
Rule number 2. Throw the object as hard as humanly possible, aiming far into the distant bushes behind the creature. Do not throw it directly at the entity, or it will attack. The Tenome reacts instantly. It violently snaps its hands away from your face, aiming both of its glowing eyes. This is your only window of survival. You must use this exact split second of distraction to crawl backward out from under the shrine. Rule number 3, run silently and never, ever look back. The entity will quickly realize it has been tricked. If you make eye contact again, the illusion is completely broken. You burst through the final layer of thick bamboo, collapsing onto the hard asphalt of a paved, brightly lit modern road.
You look back at the dark, terrifying wall of trees. The clicking sound is entirely gone. You survived the encounter.
We live our lives fully trusting our senses. We rely on our eyes to tell us what is safe. But in the deep, ancient shadows of the world, there are entities that use those exact same senses. Because if you hear the clicking in the dark, the eyes are already watching you. You think you are finally safe. You escaped the dark woods and reached the brightly lit modern city streets. As you walk down the completely empty sidewalk, the bright streetlights above you suddenly begin to flicker violently.
She wears a pristine white surgical mask covering the lower half of her face. Her dark, heavy hair obscures her eyes.
This is Kuchisake-onna, the Slit-Mouthed Woman. One of the most...
She stops mere feet away from you. Her dark eyes lock onto yours with an intense, predatory focus. Your mind races in absolute panic. This is a fatal psychological trap. If you say no out of fear, she will use a massive, rusted pair of iron scissors to end your life immediately right there on the cold sidewalk. But saying yes only triggers the second phase of her horrific nightmare.
Underneath the mask, her mouth is violently slashed from ear to ear, forming an impossibly wide, terrifying, dark void of a smile.
Even now? Absolute terror takes over. You abandon all logic, turn around, and sprint as fast as humanly possible down the foggy street, desperate to escape her.
But as you run, you hear a terrifying sound right behind your ear. Snip, snip, the heavy, metallic clicking of...
To survive this impossible chase, you must understand her ancient tragedy. Centuries ago, during the...
Her husband was consumed by dark, uncontrollable rage and toxic jealousy, fully believing she was unfaithful. Who will ever think you are beautiful now?
Her traumatized spirit returned.
Back in the modern city, she has cornered you entirely. The Rusteds. Rule number 1. Confuse the entity.
You look average.
She will freeze completely in place. Her head will tilt, desperately trying to process the answer.
Impetus. Rule number 2. The distraction technique. If you cannot speak out of fear, throw hard Japanese candies. No, the hard amber candies scatter across the wet asphalt. The entity is inexplicably obsessed with these specific sweets. She will immediately drop to her knees to pick them all up. While she is distracted picking up the candy, you must sprint toward a brightly lit, crowded intersection. She will never follow you into a large crowd of waking, normal humans. Distant. The store clerk looks at you with deep concern, offering a cold glass of water. You are safe now. The terrifying shadows of the night... You decide you cannot walk home tonight. You book a room at a towering, modern luxury hotel nearby.
You step into the sleek, empty hotel elevator, exhausted beyond human limits.
The digital floor indicator counts up slowly.
You shift uncomfortably in the corner. Somewhere deep in your exhausted memory, you recall a terrifying internet-led. She stands perfectly still, her back turned, facing the elevator doors. Welcome to the other side. Whatever you do, do not leave the elevator.
The doors slowly slide open with a heavy metallic groan. In the distance, a massive, glowing red cross burns against the dark, suffocating sky. There is absolutely
The pale woman standing next to you finally speaks.
The absolute golden rule of the elevator game screams in your panicked mind. Do not answer her. Do not step off the elevator.
You must blindly press the exact combination of floor buttons in the precise reverse order to shatter the dimensional lock. Your trembling fingers desperately smash the glowing plastic buttons. The pale entity senses your attempt to escape. The temperature drops to freezing.
You close your eyes tightly, refusing to look. Finally, the heavy metal doors slam shut.
Towards. The doors slide open again. The bright, warm yellow lights of the normal hotel lobby flood the elevator. The pale.
You stumble out of the metal box, sprinting desperately down the carpeted hallway toward your assigned room.
You collapse against the heavy wooden door, sliding down to the floor, gasping for air. The terrifying.
The hotel room is modern, clean, and perfectly silent. You crawl into the warm, white sheets of the bed. You turn off the bedside lamp, plunging the room into comfortable darkness. But as your eyes adjust to the shadows, you feel an intense, undeniable sensation of being watched. A heavy, predatory gaze is locked directly on.
You slowly sit up in bed, your heart rate spiking again. Your eyes scan the dark room.
There is an incredibly narrow, dark gap between the heavy wardrobe and the wallpaper. A space no wider than 2 inches. But in that impossibly tiny, dark sliver of space, something is moving. This is Sukima-onna, the girl in the gap. A terrifying Japanese urban legend about a demonic.
Driven by a morbid, terrifying human curiosity, you slowly step out of the warm bed.
You lean in, positioning your face mere inches from the narrow gap. You squint your eyes, trying desperately to peer. Suddenly, 2 wide, unblinking, bloodshot eyes stare directly back at you from inside the 2-inch gap.
The entity smiles a horrific, unnaturally wide smile, showing rows. A pale, impossibly slender arm shoots violently out of the tiny gap, her freezing, incredibly.
She does not want to kill you. She wants to pull you entirely into the gap with her. She wants to trap you in the suffocating darkness between the walls forever. The sheer psychological terror of being crushed into a 2-inch space shatters your mind. You pull. You burst into the brightly lit hallway, slamming the heavy wooden door shut behind you.
The survival protocol for Sukima-onna is incredibly strict and heavily psychological.
Rule number 1. Never make direct eye contact with the dark gaps.
Rule number 2. Absolute, willful ignorance.
You run entirely out of the massive hotel, stepping out onto the cold, quiet streets of the city. The warm, golden light of the rising sun washes over the concrete buildings, the nocturnal horrors, the shadows, and the...
You survived the night. You survived the brutal, endless psychological gauntlet of Japan's most terrifying...
But the sun will inevitably set again. The shadows will inevitably return to stretch across the alley. These ancient entities and modern urban legends are not just simple, scary stories.
By listening to these archives, you have invited their presence into your own mind. You have learned their rules, their traps, and the terrifying consequences of making a single mistake.
So tonight, when you finally turn off your glowing screen and the heavy darkness settles over your...
You wake up violently in your own bedroom at exactly 3 a.m., your chest heaving as a terrifying cold sweat soaks through your bedsheets.
You tell yourself it was just another nightmare, a residual psychological echo from the urban legends you read on.
You swing your legs out of bed, your bare feet touching the cold wooden floorboards. A faint...
You need a glass of water to calm your racing heart. You step into the dark corridor, your eye. You enter the bathroom, the cold tiles freezing the soles of your feet. The modern Sylvians. You turn on the faucet, splashing freezing cold water onto your face to wash away the lingering terror. Driven by that fatal human compulsion, you slowly lift your wet face and look directly into the glass. You blink your eyes to wipe away the water. But to your absolute psychological horror, your reflection does not blink.
Try to scream, but your voice is completely trapped in your throat. You feel a massive...
Pure survival instinct overrides your paralysis. You grab a heavy ceramic soap dispenser from the counter and violently smash it directly into the center of the mirror with all your strength. The silver glass shatters into 1,000 sharp pieces, exploding.
You stand there, panting heavily, staring at empty whacking of the broken frame.
Every single tiny shard of glass resting on the floor contains a Mintity's smiling face.
The survival protocol for an Ungaikyo attack is absolute and immediate. Rule number 1. The Veil of Obscurity.
You cut the doll open, removing its stuffing. You fill its empty body with dry white rice and a piece of your own finger.
You sew the doll's body shut using a thick crimson red thread, wrapping the rest of the string tightly around it to bind.
And whispered.
You turn off every light in the house, leaving only a flickering television screen displaying pure static in the living room.
You count to 10, grab a sharp kitchen knife, and march back into the dark bathroom. You stab the floating doll violently. The rules are active.
Squish. Squish.
squeeze your eyes shut. You squeeze your eyes shut.
Pure panic forces you to move. You burst out of the closet, spraying the dense salt water directly onto the doll's face, breaking its supernatural connection.
The doll collapses instantly onto the floor, becoming a completely inanimate, wet object. The spirit... You won the game, but you invited a demon into your place of sleep. The residual energy of the...
Never play with the dead.
You survived the physical entities, but the digital world is a vast, unmonitored graveyard of modern curses. You are exhausted.
The window contains absolutely nothing but a solid red background and simple black text.
Panic spikes in your chest. You aggressively click the red X in the corner.
Do you like the red room? Do you like the red room?
The words on the screen begin to warp and twist. It no longer asks a question. They are the names of the victims. People who saw this exact same pop-up and were later found dead in their own bedrooms, their walls painted entirely in their own red blood.
This is the Red Room Curse. A deadly, digitally magnetic hazard that manifests.
Driven by raw, desperate survival instinct, you lunge forward past the desk and violently rip the main power cord directly out of the electrical socket on the dark wall.
The screen dies instantly. The terrifying red glow vanishes entirely, plunging the apartment.
You lie on the carpet, convinced.
The crimson pop-up is on your phone. The robotic voice whispers clearly from the tiny speaker right next to your pillow. You retreat to the kitchen, seeking comfort in physical, ancient objects. You find an old, dusty...
You open the heavy book, desperately hoping to find a remedy. But some books are absolutely not meant to be read. Some texts are cognitive traps designed to capture human souls. The pages are yellowed and fragile. You turn to a specific page that seems to radiate a cold, unnatural... place. The poem tells the agonizing, surreal story of a young boy descending into the deepest, darkest levels of the underworld.
As you read the words silently in your mind, a heavy, oppressive weight settles directly onto your chest.
The intricate Japanese characters seem to twist and bleed dark ink on the paper. The poem is a verbal hazard. The shadows in the kitchen begin to actively stretch and warp across the walls.
The exact moment the sound leaves your mouth, the entire room freezes completely. Absolute deafening silence crashes down.
A dark, jagged tear in reality rips open in the corner of the kitchen ceiling.
You drop the heavy book violently onto the kitchen floor.
You cover your ears tightly, absolutely refusing to look up at the dark tear in the ceiling.
The survival protocol for Tomino's hell is entirely preventative. It is an auditory hazard. Your own... The bright orange flames aggressively consume the yellowed paper, curling the cursed words into dark black.
You can no longer trust your mirrors. You cannot trust your electronics. You cannot even trust the words coming out of your own mouth. You are completely isolated in your own home.
The archives remain permanently open.
You slowly lift yourself off the cold kitchen floor, your entire body shaking violently from puring. You desperately need to wash the cold sweat and gray ash from your trembling skin. You walk slowly towards. You turn the heavy metal handle of the bathtub, letting the hot water flow. Warm, thick steam slowly fills the. You sink slowly into the warm water, closing your exhausted, heavy eyes. You begin to wash your hair, massaging the thick white lather into your scalp. Your eyes are tightly.
You freeze completely in place. Your hands remain tangled in your hair. A dark, incredibly heavy presence.
Your closed eyelids tremble aggressively. You are absolutely terrified to open your eyes. The entity leans forward in the dark. You can physically feel its long, soaking, wet black hair brushing.
The survival protocol for the Daruma-san encounter is absolute and incredibly strict. Rule number 2. You must carefully and blindly stand up in the freezing water. Use your hands to feel the cold tiled wall. You step out of the tub with your eyes squeezed shut, blindly throwing a dry towel over your freezing body.
You blindly navigate out of the bathroom, violently slamming the heavy wooden door shut without ever looking back.
You unlock your front door and step out into the cold, foggy, silent streets of the modern city. The empty city streets are illuminated only by flickering orange streetlights. You walk briskly toward a
Ahead of you is a dark, completely quiet railway crossing. The metal barricades are raised. There are absolutely Tech. It is the terrifying, heavy sound of bare hands violently slapping against the hard concrete.
You turn around slowly, your blood freezing completely in your veins. This is Teke.
She carries a massive, rusted hand scythe. Her pale face is twisted into a mask of pure, unadulterated
You sprint wildly across the train tracks.
Decades ago, a young woman fell onto the train tracks. The people around her didn't help. They only laughed. A speeding...
The pale, bloody hand of the Teke slams violently onto the asphalt just inches behind your running heels.
There is absolutely no way to outrun the Teke. If she targets you, physical escape is entirely impossible.
As the rusted scythe descends toward your waist, you must shout, you must specific the ancient phrase. Do you need your legs? They are at the Meishin Expressway! You must scream, do you need your legs? They are at the Meishin Expressway!
The entity violently freezes in mid-air, crashing heavily onto the hard asphalt. She is completely...
He looks up at you with hollow, burning eyes, whispering furiously. Who told you that? You have exactly 1 second to deliver the final answer.
Kashima Reiko told me.
You must answer firmly and clearly. Kashima Reiko told me, by invoking the true name of her tragic counterpart.
The entity screams silently in pure agony, violently dragging herself backward into the thick, dark fog.
But survival is merely a temporary state in the world of the supernatural.
Through the dense, terrifying gray mist, you spot the faint, humming glow of an old green...
You step inside the narrow glass booth, the heavy folding door clicking shut behind you. You pull a cold silver coin from your coat pocket, desperately wanting to call a taxi.
The silver coin drops into the metal slot with a loud, echoing mechanical clink. You pick up the heavy... You rapidly dial the number for a local taxi service. But before the line even rings, the bright fluorescent lights inside the narrow glass booth begin to flicker violently.
The normal dial tone completely cuts out.
The voice speaks your exact, full name. Then it whispers slowly, "I am Satoru-kun."
Satoru-kun is a demonic entity that uses phone lines to track his victims. You burst out of the glass booth, sprinting...
You cover your ears tightly, but the ringing violently stops. The same raspy, terrifying voice. This is the absolute climax of the Satoru-kun trap.
Rule number 2. He will grant you one single answer to any question in the universe.
What is the exact color of my soul? You keep your eyes locked entirely forward and whisper firmly. The entity pauses completely.
You fall to your knees, crying in pure, overwhelming relief. Hope floods your exhausted mind. You run desperately to Koben, seeking the absolute...
Inside the brightly lit glass box, a police officer in a crisp, dark uniform is still.
You are panting heavily, begging the officer for immediate emergency help. You are being chased by terrifying people in the dark fog. The police officer slowly puts down his metal pen. He completely ignores your frantic, desperate pleas for safety.
The officer slowly, deliberately turns around to face you. He brings his gloved face as if he is wiping away sweat. He asks softly, "Did they look like this?"
You scream in pure, mind-shattering horror, violently stumbling backward out of police box.
You sprint back into the dark, foggy street. Your absolute trust in humanity is entirely, permanently destroyed. You run frantically past a glowing late-night ramen stand. You see the cook standing there, his back turned.
Dozens of dark silhouettes slowly step out of the heavy fog, completely surrounding you on the quiet street. You drop heavily to the wet asphalt, tightly covering your head with your arms.
The Noppera-bo isolate you entirely from the human race. Suddenly, the heavy fog slowly begins to lift. The distant, comforting sound of a massive morning temple bell echoes deep. The faceless figures instantly melt away into the dark shadows, like dissipating smoke.
You slowly look up, trembling uncontrollably. You survived the entire night.
But your mind is deeply, permanently traumatized. You traumatized.
You slowly stand up, walking completely numbly down the brightly lit, modern city street as normal people begin.
The next time you ask a stranger for help in the dark fog, look very closely at their face. Sleep well. Your apartment is silent, bathed in eerie moonlight exactly as you left it. The physical space is safe.
You stare at the pile of cold, gray ash in the kitchen. The spirit was banished, but
Suddenly, the gray ash begins to shift, forms a small clump together.
You are terrified. You quickly grab a cloth, desperately trying to sweep the ash doll into the sink.
A tiny, fresh, crimson-red thread manifests in the air. It wraps tightly around the miniature ash doll.
Rule number 1. The game is recursive. You retreat to the living room.
You cannot trust your reflection, but morbid curiosity wins. You look into a small, elegant...
But the reflection in the glass does not look back. It slowly, smoothly, and deliberately turns its entire...
You violently drop the mirror. You collapse onto your bed, completely isolated. Your home is a prison of recursive curses. You sit at the desk, your hands trembling. You turn on the computer monitor. It glows a regular blue.
Drip. A single drop of thick crimson blood manifests recursively on your keyboard, right next to your hand.
You violently pull the main power cord from the wall. The screen dies instantly. You collapse to the dark floor.
Desperation and love overrid your terror. The screen glows brightly. You pick up. It is a recursive video call. Your mom's face is smooth and blank. There are absolutely no eyes, no nose, no mouth.
Where are we going?
You look into the glass. Your reflection stares back, perfectly still.
Drip.
The recursive fog clears. Your identical the identical replacement places its recursive hands on your recursive physical shoulders.
Choice. I found you. Now you are IT.
replacement. Your identical replacement is now sitting recursively in your recursive living room. But you are not dead. You are recursively trapped inside the massive, purplish mirror void. You recursively press your smooth, blank, recursive choice.
The mirror void is choice.
This brings recursively choice.
Isolation. Được đoạt. Choice. Cognitive recursion.
Recursion. Good luck.
We carefully document these recursive archives. Choice. Auditory hazard.
The recursive Yokai Archives. Recursive. Choice. Auditory hazard. Recursive. Choice.
The sun finally rises over the modern city, casting a warm, incredibly deceptive glow.
And the nightmare seems entirely over. But then, a sudden, sharp knock echoes heavily from the front station. She opens the door. The hallway is completely empty. There is absolutely no one there, but resting on the welcome mat is a
screens. It is a beautifully crafted, ancient Japanese puzzle box. The dark wood is covered in deeply etched. The replacement reaches down to pick it up.
She brings the ancient box into the living room, placing it gently on the glass coffee table.
Centuries ago, in a highly isolated Japanese village, dark shamans created these specific wooden... The shamans performed terrifying, silent rituals in the deep shadows of the forest. They infused mints. The heavy wooden box was sealed tightly with dark spells. It is a psychological bomb. It does not explode.
Driven by a dark, unavoidable compulsion, her fingers slide the very first wooden panel smoothly to the left. She slides the second wooden panel open. A dark, terrifying, low-frequency hum begins to
The bright apartment lights violently flicker and die completely, plunging the room in...
Dozens of pale, ghostly hands slowly begin to reach out from the dark.
The pale, freezing hands violently grab the replacement's arms, pulling her aggressively toward the tiny wooden artifact. The faceless entity is violently sucked directly into the dark, bottomless void.
The quiet apartment instantly returns to normal. The warm sunlight shines brightly through the large glass windows once.
The ancient wooden box rests perfectly still on the glass coffee table. It is absolutely silent. The ancient curses of Japan are designed to correct the balance of reality. The mirror entity was destroyed. You learned about Kashima Reiko on the freezing train tracks. You survived the blind terror of Tenome. You escaped the Slit-Mouthed Woman in the dense, freezing midnight fog. You navigated the impossible geometry of Kisargi Station, and you descended into the terrifying parallel dimension.
But as we close the archives tonight,
The heavy wooden door slowly creaks open, revealing a perfectly normal, modern bedroom bathed in pale moon.
Drip.
If you hear heavy, wet footsteps echoing down your quiet hallway tonight, do not open the door.
the human mind is incredibly fragile. The cognitive hazards you learn tonight will actively try to shatter your sanity.
If your phone screen suddenly glows completely red in the middle of the night, absolutely do not read the text. Unplug every single device and wait for the morning light. Carry the hard amber candies in your pocket. Memorize the exact names of the railway lines. You must be completely prepared to negotiate for your life at any given moment. And if a small, beautifully carved wooden box ever appears on your front doorstep, leave it exactly where it is. A single, pale candle burns fiercely in the absolute dark, its flame dancing wild. The flame violently blows out, instantly plunging the entire visual field into absolute, undeniable, pitch-black nothingness. Subscribe to the darkness if you dare. The archives are constantly updating. The ancient spirits are always finding new, terrifying ways to breach. Never look into the dark gaps of your bedroom. Never answer a question from a stranger in the fog.
Because the very moment you let your guard down, the darkness will violently claim you.
The Yokai Archives are now officially closed.
And above all else,